Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Salt and Light Hour. I'm Deacon Pedro. Today, we're going to be going into the Salt and Light closet and pulling out some of our favorite conversations from the fall of 2023. First off, we're joined by Deacon Kevin Martin Jr., who shares some lessons that he learned from his dad, particularly during his dad's struggle with ALS. After that, we meet the mother-son duo Dupree. Yep, it's a mom and her son who sing together, but it's really good stuff. Just be warned that their album this year was a Christmas album, and so I hope that that's okay with you. In our second half hour, we speak with Bob Katz. He's the executive producer behind Christian films like God's Not Dead, Do You Believe, and My Brother's Keeper. He tells us about his latest film, The Blind, and about his conversion to Catholicism. And at the end of the program, we reconnect with singer-songwriter Taylor Tripodi, who has some new music. We begin now with Life Lessons from a Preacher's Father. Kevin Martin Sr. died only 1 month after he was diagnosed with ALS. Over 1,000 people attended the wake and funeral. But his son, Kevin Jr., struggled with a bottomless grief. Neither his father's example nor his own faith as a permanent deacon fully equipped him to cope with the loss. That is the story of All Is Well. Rooted in the Beatitudes, it is a story about family, miracles and baseball, rites of passage, bucket lists, and love. The book offers insights into leadership, marriage, parenting, resilience, practicality, suffering, giving, forgiveness, joy, and savoring the little things in life. And so to tell us more, I am now joined by Deacon Kevin Martin Jr. Deacon Kevin, welcome to the Salt and Light Hour.
Andrew, thank you so much. I'm just thrilled to be here.
Yeah, it sounds like same here, and it was a pleasure to read the book. It sounds like your dad was a great guy.
He was a great guy, and we spent years working together, and years vacationing together, and years living in the same two-family house in Southie, and just a lot of quality time. So we were very, very close. My 4 kids were very close to him and my mom, and just very special relationship.
Yeah, what a great blessing to have that kind of relationship with both your parents, not just your dad. And you mentioned Southie. That's in Boston, right?
That's right. I grew up as an inner city kid. If you saw the movie Good Will Hunting,
yeah,
I'm right. Me and my family are right out of central casting from that movie.
That's great. Yeah, we can hear your accent. There was one thing that really, really struck with me from reading the book, and it was about the grief that you say that you experienced through your father's illness and even after his death, and that it just took you by surprise. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
You know, it's funny. I think, like anybody, unless you're in somebody's shoes, it's so hard to relate.
Yeah.
I think of the deacon all the times, all the funerals I've assisted at, celebrated, all the funeral homilies I've given, all the times I've spent in hospice and visiting the hospital, and sadly, you leave that hospital room or you leave that funeral parlor, and I'm sure you've experienced it as well. You get the text and your family said, don't forget to pick up the pizza.
Yeah.
And life kind of continues on. And it was just something I had never experienced before. And I think, my sense from reflecting on it myself and just talking to so many people is that grief has no rules.
Yeah.
To give yourself a pass. And you can buy a book and you can talk to friends, but everybody's experience is different. And I think if we accept that my experience might be different than yours, whose experience might be different than a common friend or a neighbor, I think we end up with a little bit of that's okay, rather than trying to walk in somebody else's shoes and say this is how it's supposed to work. I think it's just different for everybody.
Yeah, and no one's immune, even deacons, right? Yeah. I don't want to go through, too many of these lessons because people can get the book and we want them to get the book. But I'm interested in knowing specifically what your dad taught you while he was in that hospital bed about suffering.
Suffering we all get asked about suffering. Why did God let this happen? Why did God allow the earthquake or my child die, my grandmother die? Why does he allow cancer? All these things. And it's the toughest question I get asked all the time as a deacon. And I don't know the answer. And I think what I've come in my own faith and my own belief is that God is not sitting there bored saying, I'll throw a little pandemic out there to keep things interesting. But I do believe that when we're at our lowest points, when we are able to stop and listen for him, that he's always there. And it's at those moments that we're down and out, that we sometimes, if we're listening the right way, that God swoops in. So I do think that there are those many times during our lives when, like a parent with a child at the corner of the sidewalk who pulls that kid in and the accident never happens. Sometimes the accident doesn't happen, but sometimes it does. And I think when it does, for whatever reason, whether it's cancer or the tsunami or world upheaval, that if we listen to God and we try to, listening is the hardest thing we do.
Yeah.
Being quiet and being patient and being open-minded, open-hearted is the hardest thing that we do. And I think when my dad was in the hospital, I tried to have that pause, and I saw him really contemplative and meditative, that you don't get out of here without suffering in some way. Maybe it's the beginning of life, the middle of life, the end of life. But I think that he really wanted to align himself with the cross. And he felt this was his way to be aligned with Jesus. The notion of one of his journal quotes in the hospital when he was intubated was, "I must suffer more."
Yeah.
I think in his own way, that for a guy who had not had a lot of suffering more meant he was going to get to heaven faster.
Yeah.
So I think that though he wasn't looking for suffering, I think he accepted it. And I think he felt very aligned with the cross in his suffering, and in all the lessons of being practical and being resilient, and what's the difference between happiness and joy and all these things. But just trying to get my head around suffering was extremely valuable to me.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. Hearing you talk about that experience in the hospital and him writing that he had to suffer more, kind of answers my next question, because it makes sense that your dad is someone who would say that all is well, and that's the title of the book. Why did you pick that title?
So the title on the actual book cover is my dad's handwriting. And so not the bottom part, but the top part, all is well. The life lessons part is scripted for us. The cover of the designer, but all is well. It's his actual handwriting now, which has become the family tattoo. I've got it on my right arm.
Oh, wow.
My daughter's got it on her side. My son's got it on his left arm. And so when my dad was in the hospital, he was intubated. There for 5 days, and he couldn't speak. So the nurses gave him a journal, a legal yellow pad. That's why the book looks the way it does. It's got that notepad to it. And he was writing notes. And some of it were very rudimentary, like, where's the nurse? Or does anybody know the score of the baseball game?
Yeah, important things.
Not the Red Sox and the Yankees playing tonight, but other things were really just insights into that love and joy. But after 32 pages in 5 days, his very last writing in that journal was all's well. And it just kind of left me with this sense of peace, that he was at peace. And it wasn't that I'm in pain, I'm scared. It was all was well. And it just was very, very comforting to me. And it's like that great Bible story where the Shunammite woman's son died.
Yes.
And when she's asked about it, her response is, "It is well." And no matter how sad she was, she had this certain faith that it was going to be okay. So I felt that my dad's kind of final lesson of that all is well, it's going to be okay. And it's that larger lesson there.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful lesson of hope that even those of us that know it are need to be reminded over and over again that all is well. Um, Deacon Kevin, it's been really good to meet you, and loved reading the book. Thank you for writing it and for sharing your story and your dad's story with us today.
Thank you so much.
That was a conversation I had with Deacon Kevin P. Martin earlier this week. Deacon Martin is ordained in the Archdiocese of Boston. His first book, All Is Well, is published by Skyhorse Publishing. Here now is Dupree with their version of O Holy Night from their album At Christmas Time.
O holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoicing, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angels' voices, oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine, oh, night
That was Dupree with O Holy Night from their album At Christmas Time. There are a lot of singing duos out there, and many of them are male-female singing duos. Many of those are married couples, but it is not often that the couple are mother and son. That is the case with Dupree, comprised of mother Lauren and her son Dylan. Recently, Dupree had the chance to perform at World Youth Day in Lisbon, Portugal. They have 4 albums and now a new Christmas single that we've been listening. And so to learn more, I am now joined by Lauren and Dylan Dupree. Welcome to the Sultan Light Hour. It's good to meet you guys.
Thank you very much for having us. Great to meet you too.
So I'm going to start. I'm going to start with you, Dylan, because you're not that your mom isn't, but you're like an accomplished musician in your own right. You're like a super talented guitar player. You've
Thank you.
been out there. You studied music. Why do you want to perform with your mom?
Well, it just kind of happened. Sometimes I believe God has a sense of humor, and I believe that
Yes.
He uses all of us, and we have different talents and different things. And I just feel like, singing with my mom is the best way to represent, his relationship with his mother. And it's just a unique way to
Okay.
represent Catholicism and especially the Virgin Mary as well. It's a really special thing. And I say we're the Judds in reverse. The Judds did it. They were mother-daughter. And I think
Yeah.
similar reasons, but why we write and record, it just makes us happy to do it together. And I feel like that's why we decided to do it.
And Lauren, how is that? Do you fall into the mother role, or are you?
I love it because he's my son. And yes, I do. Sometimes, and we're recording. I'm like, Dylan, have you done your laundry? Did you clean your room yet? And so it does kind of crisscross. And, I'm kind of momager, kind of not, because he likes to manage as well. So we kind of, go back to back with that.
Sure.
But we are so honest when we write with each other because we know each other so well.
Yeah, of course.
if we think something is lame or something
Yeah,
doesn't sound right, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. No, I don't want that lyric. That's no, let's do it this way, And he'll be like, Mom, no,
for
we're not going
sure.
to do that. And we kind of just agree because I'm like, okay, do it. And since,
Yeah.
my son, I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll do it, and it just works
Yeah,
out.
I needed a girl to harmonize with me on the first song that we ever wrote. I was recording it by myself, and I said, what do I want to do with this? And I said, Mom, sing on it. And she sang on it, and then it just kind of
It
happened.
just kind of happened.
So
That's
yeah.
amazing. So Lauren, I'm curious about you because your family growing up, did you come from a musical household?
Oh, yes, very musical. My dad played jazz. He had a piano and an organ. He could play the organ with the left hand, the piano with the right hand.
Oh,
He had
that's
him on like a
crazy.
right angle.
Yes.
So good. And my grandfather played classical. He's Polish. He played Chopin on the organ. He it was always live music everywhere I went.
That's
And so,
great.
yes, it kind of just started doubling, doubling, doubling. And then Dylan got it. And I don't know, for 17 years, he's been studying guitar. But honestly, I knew right away when he was younger that he had that inflection and he
Mhm.
had that talent. He was trying to show me how to do it. And we're all left-handed, by the way. So we have to do left-handed guitars,
Yes.
everything. But he plays drums and bass and everything too.
Yeah.
We didn't
Y-
start him out with the guitar. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
First thing was drums. I was like, I want a little drummer.
a little drummer
Drum.
boy. That's good to know. I'm left-handed as well, but I
Oh,
play right-handed. I do
Okay.
not know
Wow.
how you play left-handed guitar and bass.
yeah,
Like I could
It's a
not
little
do it.
weird at
I could
first.
not do it. I could not do it.
You know what freaks me out is the people that flip the guitar the opposite direction, and you got the low E string on the very
Yes,
bottom.
yes,
It's
I've seen
very
that.
interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So tell me a bit about the rest of the family. Are there more kids? Is Dylan the only child? Are there more
he is the
musicians in
only
the
child.
family?
We did have
Okay.
another baby that didn't make it through the
Yeah.
pregnancy. Pretty far along though, and so does have a brother. But
Brother in heaven.
yeah, but
Hmm.
yes, he's an only child. But he's like 5 children, so it's fine.
Yeah, I am
Keeps
five.
me
Yeah,
entertained, busy, the whole thing. So,
absolutely.
we're very animated over here.
Yep, just me, my dad, my mom. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
And
and a
and
dog, Bam Bam.
and Dylan and your dad's not a musician. He's just sits back and takes photos. What?
Yeah, but he's been my biggest supporter through the whole thing. He's given me every guitar that I've ever owned. He even gave me his guitar that
Oh
he can
wow.
play right-handed and left-handed guitar. He
Okay.
did that for a while, and then he gave up guitar for me. And he said, "Here's a guitar." And he bought my first guitar when I was 7, and then when I was like 13, literally gave me his electric Stratocaster that was restrung like Hendrix, so I couldn't get down to like the 22nd fret or anything
Hmm.
like that. So then he kept buying me guitar. I want this one, I want that one, and he did it throughout all the years, and then just gave me all the time that I needed, and to put in all the effort for 17 years, and then I ended up just kind of mastering the instrument, and
Right.
over a very long period of time and lots of work. Um,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And were you always, I guess, question to both of you, Catholic? Catholic? You came from Catholic families, Lauren?
Yeah.
Yes, baptized Catholic. All of my family's Catholic. Italian side, Polish side, half and half.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
We raised Dylan Catholic. But Dylan really, he really wanted to start being even more involved in church when he got in middle school. I
Yep.
just saw something in him. He's like, Mom, when are we going to church? Because sometimes we get lazy. My husband was not Catholic.
Okay.
And it took him 22 years. And then he went to
And I
RCIA.
think watching us do this ministry for so long
Yeah.
saved him. Like,
Yeah.
he can when he converted, like we had been doing ministry at that very first church that we performed at Mass in 2013 at a contemporary Mass. And my dad was like, "Wow, my son's up there strumming a acoustic guitar that I got him at this
Hmm.
left-handed shop in the middle of nowhere in Sarasota that only sold lefty guitars." But that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But it was really cool, like him watching us, and he's still watching us, and his
Yeah,
faith
of
is.
course.
He does have stage 4 cancer as well. Forgot to mention that. It's colon. So all the viewers, please pray, 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 pray for our
Mhm.
family. We're going through a lot over
Yeah.
here. And my grandma had a stroke as well within 2 weeks. So we're going through a lot. But honestly, it just makes me want to continue this ministry even more, and just continue to make more music and keep playing guitar, and keep doing that because he's
And
really proud of us.
we want to
So
bring people closer to the sacraments as
yeah,
well, because, we even have family members who are kind of drifting off and going to non-denominational churches or whatever. And honestly, the best advice I ever got from a priest was when we're going through all this is stay close to the sacraments.
Hmm.
and keep going with that. And God will give you the peace. I just didn't really know if that was actually going to happen, where I could just be happy through these times that are
Hmm.
so tough. I had no idea I was going to be, we were going to be punched like this
Yep.
with all of these hard things. But honestly, we've been okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes us want to go out and share what we have, because when you have something like this and you know Jesus and you're close to the sacraments, you just want to share that,
Yep.
and you want other people to have it. And so that's what we want to do with this ministry. And so we've made a lot of pop music, country style music. People are loving it, and kids are loving it, families are loving it, and they're attracted to that. Even people who don't normally listen to Christian music, because they
Hmm.
like the guitar as well. So we're trying to draw people in a different way. And I've heard Father Ripperger, is that his name? The exorcist priest?
I believe so.
He
Yes.
said this music is he said he's for it, because people who normally are not going to listen, you can attract them, and then the Holy Spirit can take over from there,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and great things can happen.
Yeah.
So we're just on fire with it. But, getting it out there and getting support for it is difficult.
It's always a challenge. Yeah, it is.
So we're looking to build a team,
Yeah, well, hopefully,
I don't know how to find it, but we're
no, that will there. And you're in Tampa, Florida, right?
we are in
Orlando.
Orlando. Sorry, Orlando. Yes.
Yes.
So anybody in the Orlando area, you can look up Dupree. Dylan, I was going to ask you. I mean, you've been described as, like Eddie Van Halen, which is like super. I mean that he's like the greatest guitar player ever.
Oh yeah.
Did you when you were growing up, did you think I want to be Eddie Van Halen, I want to be Jimi Hendrix, or were you thinking, no, I want to just do Catholic music or Christian music? Like where does that come from?
First, when I first picked up the guitar from the age of 7 to when I had the epiphany of, hey, Mom, we should go to church in middle school. I successfully learned how to play Cliffs of Dover by Eric Johnson, a very, very difficult song on the guitar, at probably 13 or something. I even auditioned for the Ellen DeGeneres show at one point, because I did want to
Really?
be like Van Halen, like Slash and Jimi Hendrix. There's so many of my influences. I can't even mention them all right here. But yeah, I wanted to do that, and I felt like the guitar was it was a therapeutic instrument as well, because
Yeah.
I have tics. I blink a lot, and I don't have vocal tics, but I used to kind of in second grade. But they kind of went away and they got better. But
Mhm.
when I was younger, I got diagnosed with that, so I blink a lot, and I do all these movements. So when I play guitar, it tames them completely, and I feel like I can let out all of my energy, all of my
Mhm.
nervous energy doing that. So I'm really good at impersonating. I'm really good at doing those things. So I feel like that's kind of the reason why I started playing guitar and never gave it up, because it made me feel so good when I played it, and then it made me feel even better when I was playing it for a crowd and for these crowds that
Mhm.
people closer to Christ and the Catholic faith. And I was like, wow, I gotta use this for that, because I saw the response. Even on
Yeah.
LFO, I saw the response of the Christian song we played.
Right,
So,
right. Okay, we
yeah.
have just a little bit of time left for one more question. And since we're so close to Christmas, I wanted to ask you guys, as a family, what is that one Advent or Christmas tradition that you guys that's so dear to you as a family?
Oh man.
Well, we just like our tradition where we go to mass,
Yes.
like at usually 6 o'clock mass or something. Then we come home, and I always bake ziti
Yes.
and
Okay.
bake Christmas cookies and open gifts. But I think, as far as the Christmas, I have a really nice big manger, and I love putting that out. And so
Okay.
I made my husband dig it out of the garage
That's it.
the other day, and I just love like to make that the focus and
Nice.
remember, why we're celebrating Christmas and why
Mhm.
we're opening the gifts. It's Jesus' birthday, so
Yes.
that's
And also, since we are in Orlando, we like to go to Disney World
oh, true.
and see the Christmas trees around
Every
the
year,
hotels.
yeah.
It's a little unusual. I mean, I grew up in Panama, so I'm used to like
Oh.
tropical Christmas, but going to the beach on Christmas Day is a little weird now that I've been in
Yeah.
Canada for 35 years.
Wow.
Anyway, guys, it's been so good meeting you. Thank you for what you're doing. Prayers for you and your dad, Dylan, your husband,
Thank you.
Lauren, and your mom, Lauren. And I hope that you guys are making more music so we can get you back on the show.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank
That'd
you for
be
having
fantastic.
us.
Thank you.
It's been really fun.
You can learn more about Dupree at their website, dupreemusic.com. And it's Dupree with two E's, Dupree, dupreemusic.com. I'm going to put that on our website, slmedia.org/podcast, so you can find it easily. Here now is Dupree with At Christmas Time from their album of the same name.
Let's go light the fire, sing our favorite carols loud. It's so nice to have you here at Christmas time.
Let's go drive around, see the brightest Christmas house. It's so nice to see the lights at Christmas time.
It's so nice to have you here at Christmas time. It's so nice to have you here at Christmas time. At Christmas time.
Hang the stockings, trim the tree, watch Christmas movies on TV. So glad you're here with me at Christmas time.
There's a little bit of Christmas for every day of the year. We're listening to Dupree with the title track of their album, At Christmas Time, on this special edition of the Salt and Light Hour. I'm Deacon Pedro, apologizing for the Christmas music. Check out our website at slmedia.org/podcast. Welcome to the Salt and Light Hour Part 2. I'm Deacon Pedro. A few months ago, we spoke with Chuck Conselman and Carrie Solomon. They are the writers of the Christian films God's Not Dead and Do You Believe? If you didn't see them in the theaters, you saw them on PureFlix. These films are produced by Bob Katz, who entered the film industry with God's Not Dead. For several years, Bob Katz worked for PureFlix and also worked on films like Case for Christ and A Light in the Darkness. His most recent film is called The Blind, based on the incredible conversion story of Phil Robertson of the reality TV series Duck Dynasty. Bob Katz recently became a Catholic, and so there was a lot to talk about. And I spoke with Bob Katz earlier this week. Bob, welcome to the Salt and Light Hour. It's good to meet you.
Oh, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in the film industry.
As strangely as I ended up being Catholic, quite honestly. I am a CPA. I practiced, I was partnered in a CPA firm for most of my working life. And a good friend of mine, who is still a very good friend of mine, calls me up one evening and says, "Hey, I just caught my son watching filth, and God told me that you and I need to make some faith-based movies that are really good, that aren't, sappy." And I said, "Do you know anything about making movies?" And he said, No, but God told me, so it'll all work out. And I when you buy time, what do you tell people? Well, let me pray about it. But I couldn't shake it.
Wow.
And the next day I called him back and said, "Okay, Troy, let's give it a try." And of course, our first movie is just like this gigantic hit. God's Not Dead.
God's not dead.
And I'm thinking, this is how naive we both were. Well, this is easy. This is a lot better than tax season every year being a CPA. Let's do this. Which, as you know, it's not that easy. That God's Not Dead was one of those incredible moments in faith-based films.
Yeah.
But we started doing more and more films because there was truly a need. There was a need for good faith-based films, and there was a need to get the gospel message out there.
Right. Yeah. And in some ways, I think that's how God works, right? He picks the most unlikely people, and that way we know for sure that God's the one doing the work and not us.
Amen. Amen.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about PureFlix. I don't know if you had a hand in how PureFlix came to be, but I'm curious to know how you decide to pick projects in terms of evangelization or spreading the good news is your goal or your mission.
Oh,
How do you find those projects? Because a lot of them are true stories, correct?
Yeah. Pureflix has, of course, that was another God thing, if you will. Troy and I, we didn't even know what we didn't know. My producer.
Yes.
And Pureflix had been making films, but they went straight to DVD. It was a different model. They didn't go to theaters first.
Right.
And God brought us together through this, of course, weird set of circumstances. And we said, we got a film we want to make. And they said, well, we're ready to go and try a theatrical. And so we teamed up. They provided the intellectual property, if you will, and we provided the funds and the story. And like I said, everything it was just an incredible result for that film. And we did. Troy and I did 3 more God's Not Deads, and then Pureflix went on. Pureflix still, we sold the franchise to them, and they're still making God's Not Dead films.
Right. So tell us a little bit about your journey into the Catholic Church. What can you tell us? How did that happen? I'm sure it's a long story, but
I'll give you the condensed version. I promise. I'll try. So I was born and raised Jewish, but in my 20s I became a Protestant, what Catholics call a Protestant,
right?
And was very happy being a Protestant. And long story short, 4 years ago, I just found myself crying out to God, saying, "God, forgive me. I just don't trust you. I've tried, and this goes back, of course, like everybody, to their childhood and things that happened, but I have such trouble trusting you." And I'm driving along and I'm listening to Sirius Radio. I'm listening to the Catholic channel, and they have Saint of the Day.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I'm listening to Joel Osteen. I'm a Protestant. And I just, what's going on in the Catholic channel? So I flip over and I hit Saint of the Day, and the saint was Saint Faustina. And they told me her story, and I said, I'm not, remember now, I don't know anything about saints. And I said, what? Yeah. This woman talked to God every single day, and he appeared to her. What? And again, I couldn't shake it. So I got her book, which is about 800 pages.
Yeah.
And I started reading it. And then I saw, the Divine Mercy image. And what does it say at the bottom of it? Jesus, I trust in you. So I had cried out to Jesus, telling him I don't trust in him. He leads me to St. Faustina with a picture. Who else in Catholic history has a painting that says, Jesus, I trust in you?
Yes.
And by the time I got to the end of the book, my heart was so hungry to be Catholic. All I can tell you, it has been probably the best decision of my life.
Oh my gosh, what a gift.
When I go to Mass, when I take the Eucharist now, when I read about the saints and the history of the church and it brings me to another place. It's like God just brought me to the next pinnacle step. It's almost, you're ready to be Catholic now.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it. It's been such an incredible journey. I've had such good spiritual directors and people who are just so willing to teach, and I just love it.
Wow.
It's been a powerful, wonderful journey.
Bob, thank you for sharing that story with us. Wow. And it's kind of neat that the Catholic channel had something to say. I'm sure that the listeners listening to this program are going to be happy about that. Would you say that there's anything about that story that relates back to your journey into the film industry, or how you ended up in the film industry?
It's almost the opposite, and I've enjoyed the film industry, although on a daily basis it makes you want to tear your hair out.
Mm-hmm.
It is the most inefficient, frustrating business in the world, and I don't recommend it to anybody.
Yes,
but there's such a longing in my heart now to take what I've learned over the last 10 years and start to make film that has a Catholic message in it, if you will. And we've always tried very hard not to beat people over the head with the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
But I have such a passion now to really, what I'm thinking of, and I haven't discussed this with anybody, but I really would like to our next project to be episodic, where we go to not the saints that everybody knows, not Fatima and Lourdes and Guadalupe, but there's 1,000 saints that most people may not be familiar with that have equally powerful stories and miracles associated with it, and healings and visions and prophecies. I would love to do a series of shows about that. I'm really praying hard about, God, how would this all fit together? Because so to give you a long answer to your question, I really want to transition my filmmaking to make films that are Catholic oriented. That doesn't sound, but you know what I mean.
I think I know what you mean, and at the same time, I wouldn't want you to stop making the films that you've been making already, because those are also stories that touch people's hearts, and we can have our listeners praying for you, so that the right saint stories or modern day saint stories come to you, and
all the prayer I can get. Because I really, we've got quite a slate of projects, but I really want to find a way to do this episodic project as well. So that's okay. So I think that the Catholic Church has had a gigantic influence on our filmmaking, really.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to more coming from you. So quickly, before we go, in about a minute that we have left, The Blind, it's based on Phil Robertson, Duck Dynasty. People might not know what that is, and maybe it doesn't matter, but what is your goal or your hope for that film for people?
Well, the family, the show Duck Dynasty was actually the #1 show on cable TV, and when they did the wedding between Kevin and Kay, it was the #1 all-time cable TV show.
Incredible.
So my hope for the movie is this talks about their life in their 20s. People see them now and they're Phil and Kay Robertson, they're Duck Dynasty, but the truth was, this is a redemption story. He was an alcoholic, a terrible alcoholic, and their marriage was on shaky ground, to say the least. She was willing to fight for her marriage, and he was willing to just get on his knees and beg forgiveness from God. And this is a story that nobody is too far away from nobody's too far away from God that they can't turn and have redemption enter their life. So it's really, people think it's truly a love story, and it's a redemption story. And I think, you've seen it, when Phil gets baptized, usually the audience just breaks out into spontaneous applause. It is a truly heartwarming love story.
Yeah, I love that, because I get the redemption part, but I never would have thought to call it a love story, but you're so right. And those are great stories that everybody needs to watch. So thank you for making it and bringing it to us.
My pleasure.
And thank you for sharing a little bit about you with us today. I hope that we can chat again for your next project.
I'd love to. Yeah, that'll be next year.
All right, good.
We keep at it.
Good. God bless, Bob. Pleasure.
Thank you. God bless you. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was a conversation I had with Bob Katz, producer of God's Not Dead and Do You Believe? His new film, The Blind, will be in theaters September 28. You can find out more at theblindmovie.com. If you missed any part of this conversation or to listen to the rest of the show, go to our website, slmedia.org/podcast. Here now is Taylor Tripodi with her new single, Little.
My sweet little brothers, how I wish you could stay this way, just like undercover, wasting the day away, driving mom nuts, eating donuts, betting on who's fastest in this bunch. I remember being a lot like you, doing the same things, but never quite as sure. Couldn't wait to be old enough to do the things I always thought were cool. And I know that I lost that long ago. to go back there. Taking the simple ways, it was easy to be me. Didn't know the meaning of shame. No problems, no worries. Trusting was easy enough. And I know that some time has passed for sure, but I can't let go of the innocence I once held close. 'Cause Jesus said, let the little ones come close to me. So little is what I always want to be. So scared to grow old, so afraid of being alone. But I just gotta believe that you're holding me like a child, no matter where I go. 'Cause I know that you loved me before I was born, and I won't let go. You give me innocence once more. 'Cause you say to be born again, you must see like a child. God, with you, everything is new. My heart is free and wild. So little is what I always want to be. Oh, oh. Little is what I always choose to be.
That was Taylor Tripodi with her new single, Little. We first met Taylor Tripodi in June 2018 when she was still working on her last EP, Awakening. Her first album, Be Glorified, was made through a Kickstarter campaign while she was still a student at Franciscan University. Taylor is now living in Nashville, and when motherhood allows her, she dedicates herself to ministry, leading worship, doing concerts and speaking engagements, and of course, writing and recording music. She is hoping for a new album next year, but she has some new singles, which we've been listening to, and so, to tell us more, I am now happy to welcome Taylor Tripodi back to the program. Taylor, welcome back. It's good to see you.
Great to see you, Deacon. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's so good to know that you have new music. But you since we last spoke, you got married. You have a baby. I guess she's not a baby anymore, a 1-year-old. And there's all these new songs. So it's been a fruitful couple years. Can we say
it
that?
has been a couple years. I was telling my husband, I feel like ever since we had a baby, like time is just like choo, 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 like so fast. It's crazy.
Yes. Did you find that craziness helped the songwriting or got in the way of the songwriting?
More inspiration, that's for sure. Lots more
Yeah.
inspiration. Definitely having to allot time and be more laser focused when I want to write a song, because before it was much easier, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely more inspiration, a little bit less time, but maybe you could say it's a good way of focusing when I do have the time. So I'm like, all right, I've got to write a song. I'm going to take this time. I'm going to do it now. So
Yeah. Now you also moved. You got married and you
I
moved
did.
to Nashville.
A lot. Yeah. We
Now,
moved. So I moved back in 2020 in the middle of all the craziness. And
Yeah.
then during that year, met my husband. And
Okay.
then we got engaged, married, baby, and one baby on the way too. So
Oh,
crazy,
congratulations.
crazy.
Good. So,
Thank
okay, so
you.
you moved before you got married.
And it's
Um,
funny because music definitely was a top reason for sure, obviously. But there is an incredible Catholic community here
Yes.
and a Catholic community of artists as
Yes.
well. And so being among them and being able to be inspired by them just very, very directly is such a gift. So yeah, there's so many different reasons that I ended up moving down here, but definitely for the music and for the community. And then also I ended up moving into a Catholic women's household called the Goretti House. So it was a faith intentional community of single women we just would all pray together every night.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, prayed with each other. And it just really helped my spiritual growth in a lot of ways. And I really believe kind of prepared me for my vocation, where I am right now. So God works
Absolutely.
in a lot of ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you join a community like that, and next thing you know, you're getting married. So that's so great how God leads us where we need to go to prepare us for what's next.
Amen.
Tell me about the new songs. We've heard Live Wide Open, and we just heard Little. And we're
Okay.
going to end the program with Late Have I Loved. I get the
Mhm.
sense. I mean, I've just heard the three. I don't know if there are more singles that you've released in the last couple of years, but I get the sense that love is a overarching theme of these. Is that right?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Definitely, as I said before, like God leads you to your vocation, and every vocation is going to involve some love and
Yeah.
some self-sacrifice. So I've been, as we all do, we reflect on true love and what that costs, what that means. And so definitely been an inspiration for a lot of the songs that I released during that time period for sure.
hmm Do you, because you talked about how there's so much more inspiration, and I can see how there's love being an inspiration. I mean, just looking at your daughter Evangeline's face, I'm sure you're just filled with inspiration. Um,
Yeah.
do you, I mean, I don't know, do you, and don't, this is not a judgment. Do you
Yeah.
pray and get inspired through prayer, or do you journal? Do lyrics come to you first, or do you think of a music? Like what's your songwriting process, or is it different depending on the song?
I wonder what your responses have been in all of your other interviews, because honestly, like for me, it sounds horrible, and maybe I should streamline my process a little bit, but I really, especially maybe now as a mother too, like it literally comes when my daughter is like pulling
Napping.
on my leg
Right,
and
right.
like I need a like crying, like looking up at me. Like it's just such a random thing. At least for me,
Yeah,
definitely it comes in prayer, in reflection sometimes for sure. But yeah, it's just such a random occurrence. And then sometimes even, when your intention is to sit down and write a song, sometimes you'll, think, oh, lately I've been pondering this, or I've really been inspired by this quote from this saint. And so for me, it's just all over. But
yeah.
I wonder if that's been the response that you've gotten from other people too.
It is. I mean, everybody has their
Yeah.
own, and sometimes that randomness is their process. Like, I mean, it sort
Hmm.
of depends on where you are in your life. Do you set out, because I know, well, you've just told me that you're hoping to have an album or an EP out next year. Is that going to be a lot of these singles that you've been writing, or are you going to sit down and actually write some music specifically for an EP? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I've had a lot of just songs that have been flowing out of the past 2 or 3 years of my
Mm,
life. And so they've kind of just accrued over time and through just the different experiences that I've had. Um, so yeah, I'm still putting things together. We still are kind of figuring out the timeline for the new year
right.
and when and how we're going to release everything. But definitely, I mean, I have it's been a while. So the last time I've put out an album, like you said, was 2019. And so it's been a lot of just things in the works that I'm excited to finally like share with people and share a little bit of the growth that I've experienced and the things that God has been doing. So I'm excited.
Yeah, so are we, because it's always a good excuse to get you back on the show. Um, so some of the singles that you've already written may end up in that album or EP. Um,
They may.
are you thinking of a theme? Is it going to be something love? Is one of the title songs going to be "Late Have I Loved" or something like that? What do you think? Or "Live Wide Open"? What are you thinking?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I have been wanting to record this album for the past, I want to say like maybe 2 years, and just engagement, marriage,
Yes.
baby
Yeah.
have kind of have just really put a hold on that for a little while now. And so I've had kind of in my head like this one song called This Is Redemption that has been kind of the theme behind a lot of the music.
Okay.
Now, recently, I've been writing some different songs that maybe have they're not completely far from that theme, but they're just different. Obviously, you go through different seasons of your life and you experience different things. So yeah, still trying to work that out and kind of see if that is that the main the theme of the whole album, or is it going to be something else? So I'm still kind of going through that. We'll see. It'll be a nice surprise for all of us.
It'll be a nice surprise. Okay. That's good to know. And you're still doing live events, worship events. That's still happening in the busyness of marriage and motherhood.
Yeah, praise God, because I'm so blessed to be able to be an artist and musician, because it is such a gift to have that flexibility of, okay, you know, this month is looking a little bit crazy. We probably can't do something this month, but being able to kind of figure that out and still be a mom, still make that my primary vocation. It's a gift, because I really truly believe that God has called me to this ministry, even though it looks different now. But still doing events when I can, and trying to use that gift as well. So it's been fun to juggle. I'll tell you that. It's been fun to juggle, but I'm very grateful for this gift that God has given me.
And so are we, very grateful about this gift that God has given
Thank
you.
you.
And that you can share it with the rest of us. Taylor, it's really good to reconnect. Thank you. I love the music. I don't need to say this, but I love your voice. I still look at you and I can't imagine how that powerful voice comes out of your body. But thank you for what you're doing. Congratulations on everything that has been happening in your life and the new baby that's to come. And thank you for the music and for telling us a little bit about all of that today.
Great. Thank you so much for having me on here, Deacon.
You can learn more about Taylor Tripodi, listen to her music, and book her for your event at her website, taylortripodi.com. And it's Tripodi, 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 taylortripodi.com. I'm going to put that link on our site so you can find it easily. And to listen to the full interview or to any part of this program, go to slmedia.org/podcast. Here now is Taylor Tripodi with Late Have I Loved You.
Darkness made a call from my heart, like a shadow fading over me. But you flashed, you shone, your love felt warm in the cold that was my grave. With every wayward step, I yearned for your face. I couldn't find your presence. How could I not see you were always with me? Oh, beauty ever ancient. Late have I loved you. You're what I'm searching for. Great is your mercy. You brought me from the dark. When I was blind, your love broke through. You did what I couldn't do. Late have I loved you. Late have I loved you. Like a soldier in battle, you fought for my soul. You have won my freedom. Now I'm alive. Yes, you made me alive, made new by love alone. By love alone. Late have I loved you. You're what I'm searching for. Great is your mercy. You brought me from the dark. When I was blind, your love broke through. You did what I couldn't do. Late have I loved you. Late have I loved you.
We're listening to Taylor Tripodi with her single, Late Have I Loved You, and that concludes this special edition of the Salt and Light Hour. Remember to visit our website, slmedia.org. That's where you can listen to all our programs, and not just podcasts. There's a lot of content there, videos, and our blog, which includes my column, Deconstructing, and that's also where you can access Salt and Light Television, slmedia.org. That's also where you can find out everything you want about Salt and Light Media and how you can support our ministry, because we can't do this without your financial support. That's slmedia.org. Thank you for supporting us. If you have any comments or questions, you can send them to me, email pedro@slmedia.org, or you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or X. Thank you for being with us today. I'm Deacon Pedro.